Action. Hey, it's me again. Remember from last time? Welcome back to UPRE. Tonight, hopefully, well, oh no, I forgot. We had that last one. Tonight we review one of Jim Carrey's more recent and honestly ethereal films. Deeply intellectual and philosophical and all of the calls. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Please subscribe. Joining me tonight, I have a medical professional and someone dear to my heart, the next doctor. Oh no. Uno reverse. How's it going?
Disclaimer, I only play a medical professional on social media. I am doing excellent. I'm ready to dive into this movie. This is my first time watching it, even though I heard about it when it first came out. So definitely ready to jump in and talk about it.
I envy you. But yeah, awesome. Yeah. So next I have the executive consultant.
It is my first time watching this movie too. I can't wait to talk about it.
You're welcome. So, Jim Carrey, am I right, guys? Isn't he just amazing? He's got such a range.
Yeah, he showed it in this one.
Really impressive, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't know he could play such a heartthrob. Like, the level of vulnerability that he demonstrated in this was, like, really touching, you know? I was kind of at the beginnings. The first time I watched it, I came into it blind. I didn't know what it was about. The trailer for it and all the teaser, whatever, all marketing didn't really define or paint a picture of what the film actually was. It kind of hid behind Jim Carrey almost in the romantic comedy sort of way. And this was definitely about romance and love and had some comical moments. But it just had a lot of deeper meanings and messages happening. And it had a lot of moments that give you pause and make you think. Anyway, it just explores a lot of different concepts and things that I feel like tie us together as human beings. The desire to be loved, the desire to be accepted by someone, and just kind of that suffering that ties us together and kind of helps kind of mold us and our identities. But I won't get too far deep into the wherewithal or whatever's going on up in there. It's kind of a deep hole, deep rabbit hole anyway. So who wants to divulge in the many emotions that they touched with Jim Carrey?
I guess since the executive consultant is stirring up lovingly at myself, I shall go ahead and put my 2 cents in. So, you know, I remember when this first came out, you know, like you said, the trailers didn't really reveal what it was. And, you know, even though I was definitely a fan of Carrey at the time, you know, even though it still is today, my time was, you know, precious. And, you know, funds were also precious. And it was like, okay, am I going to see this not knowing anything about it? You know, nah. So I skipped out on it. But I really wish that I hadn't, because, you know, when I see this now, thinking about the, you know, kind of, I guess maybe fringe aspect of the female character, I forget her name.
Kate Winslet, and it's Clementine.
Clementine, yes. So, you know, she's kind of, you know, kind of out there, you know, a little eccentric-ish, you know, kind of just on like the, you know, like the fringes. And, you know, the way that they interact when they're together, it seems like, okay, they're kind of outcasts. But I think today, this movie could probably be related to by way more people, because it's really, kind of that introvert, kind of keeping to yourself type of deal, social, kind of social anxiety, but also kind of social awkwardness that I think a lot of people resonate with these days. So it would have been interesting to just experience this movie then and now, but experiencing it now, it was definitely an interesting ride. I still, after all this years, I didn't know anything about the movie. I'd never looked it up. I'm pretty sure it did, pretty well. But there were no spoilers or anything that were circulating about this that I happened to come across. So I really did go into it blind, and I was not expecting what this movie was about. Being able to erase the memories of someone, and then the people around them playing along with that. Like his friends knew about it, to kind of protect him. And I mean, that's also a wild aspect. Like, your friends have to know about this secret and did not tell you. Like who signs up for that? And, hats off to his better friend of the couple. That's like, nah, we're not gonna keep talking about this. We gotta let you know. And here you go. And like, what? And then he does the procedure. But the wild thing is, and I didn't know about Mark Ruffalo until he was Hulk. Seeing Mark Ruffalo in this, I was like, oh wow, okay. He has some other acting chops. I knew about him from my Now Can You See Me Now, but not from this. And also, Mr. Harry Potter was in here as well. But this, like, and speaking of Harry Potter, he stole pretty much his identity and used it to finesse.
That wasn't Daniel Radcliffe.
Huh?
That wasn't Daniel Radcliffe.
Why you ain't let him rock, man? Come on.
Who was it?
It was Frodo.
Frodo, that's who it was. I knew it was one of those stars. Frodo, yeah. So I recently seen the handguns, that movie, and I got it mixed up. But yeah, he stole his identity and started finessing this girl. Like, that's wild. That's crazy. And that's like, that part to me is like, there's so much that you could abuse with this whole erasing your memory thing, that it was wild that it was even something that was, able to happen. Like that whole thing was, I mean, even the doctor, to his credit, I don't think he went there with the expectation to, try to rekindle anything. But I'm pretty sure he knew the signs, even though he had a job to do. He was there to fix, Jim Carrey. I'm sure he saw the signs, the same signs that that he erased before, and he should have been like, okay, when Mark Ruffalo was about to go out catch him, like, no, you stay, to protect himself. But Mary Jane Watson is pretty hot, so he wanted a piece of that action again. Can't blame him for that, but still pretty unethical to erase someone's mind and then go try playing them again. But yeah, this whole movie, it was a trip. It was really a trip when you get the concept of it erasing people's memories, and then him struggling to hang on to that memory inside of his own mind, and partially doing it. It was crazy. It was crazy. This whole movie was a trip, and I really do wish that I'd seen it before, because, my mind then or my mind now would have liked to have relived it to kind of see how much difference I would have thought about it.
I'm so glad you said trip, because I was thinking acid trip was a more defined definition of this movie.
Growing up, I was in the program of DARE, so I don't really know about all these drugs. But hey, if you tried it, more power to you.
I didn't try it until I saw this movie. Let me explain something to you. This movie was all over the place, and I heard something about a lot of different emotions, and and I have to say that this movie put me through a lot of emotions. Would you like to hear it? Sure, you do. Here it goes. There was sadness, there was regrets, there was confusion, and there was irritation with this movie, and that's all I experienced with this movie. Jim Carrey, let me tell you, you put me through a roller coaster in this movie. To see the Riddler go after Carmine Falcone, I guess he's in charge of the Incredible Hulk, and who's trying to get with Mary Jane Watson, but Mary Jane Watson has a thing with Carmine Falcone. Meanwhile, the guy from Sin City, I can't remember his name, is over there with Kate Winslet, and I'm sure she played in a comic movie too. This movie's all over the place, right?
Definitely star-studded.
It was definitely star-studded. I have more to say, but it's going to be my final thoughts. We're going to take a quick. Oh, E, did you have something to say before we take this quick commercial break?
No, I'll leave it for my final thoughts.
Yeah, it's final thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll find out what we're reviewing next Tuesday, next Thursday. Stay with us. You are watching Unpopular Review.
Any identification on the victim? Puzzle piece. But Jigsaw's been dead for 10 years.
It's not him. Can't be.
Help!
The truth will set you free.
I have seen the future of horror. His name is Clive Barker. Beyond any terror you have imagined. A nightmare.
No.
Unlike anything you have witnessed. Is born. Because within these walls, the unholy is unleashed. Hellraiser.
Next Tuesday, join us as we review Jigsaw and the next movie in the Saw franchise. And then next Thursday, we continue our Halloween theme month movie with my pick, which is Hellraiser, first thing for me. But today we're talking about none other than Eternal Spotless Sunshine, some movie. The Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, starring Jim Carrey, as we try to wrap up the Jim Carrey part of last month. But we're going to do it right here for you tonight. Let's go ahead with our final thoughts. Next, Doctor, if you would care to begin, or to eat Bookie, you want to start, you want to end? What you want to do? It's your movie.
I'll start.
All right, go ahead. Do your thing.
So, circling back, no, pipe down. So, circling back, Jim Carrey has the range, girl, okay? And when you pair him up with a very well-written script and some, unique and stylistic directing, you can really make magic happen. I don't know how well this movie did in theaters the year it was released. It was up against some pretty big ones. But I think it took the genre of sci-fi and turned it on its head and made it into something really beautiful. There were a lot of really interesting shots and angles, and in the different sets, the director definitely used perspective in some points. And I really felt that there was an artsy and artistic kind of edge to this film that also had an indie feel. I like that. I don't need a huge production budget to make magic happen. And you guys referenced how this movie is star-studded. It really is. All of these people have either starred in films that have been nominated or have been nominated themselves for Oscars. And I think most of all, what I like about this movie is it really captures the things that bind us together and things that tie us together. The story itself, it has sci-fi elements. I really like the use of memory and how we think back of those things, how it can be manipulated, and how the different memories and different emotions we tie to them define us. But for me, I really felt that this kind of was like tragic, honestly, at the end. While the end was beautiful, and I did see there was a glimpse of hope at the end, for me, despite them both choosing love, despite them kind of knowing what their fate would be and would end up being from having already lived it, despite not remembering, I that hopeful feeling when they chose each other and chose to continue and try to give it a second shot. I felt that, but in the end, it just seemed like they're going up a hill. And it's just a very steep hill, and it's going to be a long fall down. Um, so yeah, it did end in tragedy for me, but I do think overall it was a really beautiful movie. It was very well written. Everyone acting in it, their kind of background side story with Kirsten Dunst was well done. Very climactic, like a lot of different points where I was just like, ooh, the bird being spattered comes to mind. Just that deeply shameful memory. But anywho, it's definitely a thumbs up for me. Great movie, love it. Definitely watch it. And yeah, that's it.
All excellent points. I will say that I disagree that it's a sad ending. On what you mentioned there with hope, I think that the love and the hope was, the best ending, because they knew that, okay, we've done this before. These are the things I don't like. Maybe now that, that honesty is out there, because a lot of times in a relationship, there's honesty at one level, but then there's honesty at another level, that deep, intimate honesty. And that was laid to bear in those tapes that, stepping back for a moment, that I understood the hurt that Kirsten Dunst's character had, but she agreed to go through that process, and her just ruining, like putting everyone else's business like back out there, even though, they agreed to go to this process too, like opening those wounds up. I mean, that was a douchebag move. Regardless of what hurt she may have done, all those people agreed to put that stuff behind them, for better or for worse. And her just opening that back up, I mean, that's liable to have somebody searching for her and putting the axe to her head or something like that, because that was rough. But I digress. I think knowing that your, like, whatever the issues are, up front, still choosing to fight through them, I think that was a beautiful thing. I mean, yeah, it's going to be, I agree, it's going to be the uphill road, but I mean, anything worth fighting for is going to be a challenge. And so I think that they had probably the best, ammunition to be able to fight it, because they already knew what they were facing. And I think, this movie overall, it was definitely a wild ride. I would never have guessed that this is what the movie was about. Yeah, it was definitely some ups and downs. I mean, Mark Ruffalo, Kirsten Dunst doing their, kind of tango, him, trying to put the moves on, to get her. I mean, in the whole thing, I mean, I know that this was like a small operation, but the professionalism of just, being in your undies, dancing on someone's bed while their mind is being erased. I mean, come on. Oh, he's not going to wake up, but still, seriously, that was wild to me. When I saw them do, I was like, what?
Yeah. I mean, but that's part of that indie flavor, right? And you don't act like you never slacked on the job, man, especially if it was a night job.
I mean, sure, but
yeah,
on the man's bed, right next to him,
they took their shoes off.
They definitely clapped cheeks, and it was definitely on that man's bed right next to him. She woke up like at the part of the scene she woke up with just the covers over her, they definitely clap cheeks. And so yeah, that part was pretty wild to me. Not as wild as Frodo taking the identity and using it against the ex
That was
to try to get
crazy.
in her pants. That was like
crazy, yo.
That was
That's
serious.
gotta be illegal. That's gotta be illegal. That's almost like, I just don't know. That's gotta be illegal. That feels kind of R-wordy.
Yeah.
The R word.
Yeah, big one. But overall, I'm definitely thankful to have seen this movie. It's definitely a thumbs up for me. Anyone that's in kind of like psychological, thriller, comedy thing, definitely go see this. You won't regret it.
Look at you, the next doctor.
Unless, of course, you're the executive consultant.
I mean, I like how you got poetic, at the end. That was nice.
This is a movie called The Batman.
Also with a Riddler in it.
We are doing the movie called Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. And the measuring stick is the movie better than The Batman? This movie was an emotional roller coaster. It made me feel all types of emotions, but not because the movie was bad. It was because the movie had a lot of effed up shit in it, bro. It had a lot of effed up shit in it. Stuff that made me like, you just want to choke. Or stuff that I just felt like I could relate to. Now, not the slacking on the job. Chris don't slack on the job.
Oh, he related to the shameful part.
No, I would never do something like that. I actually was a little upset. I was confused a lot. And I was like, what's going on? What are these people doing here? I thought they were in the lab, and I didn't know what was going on. I was confused until I was able to finally decipher and pick up what was going on. I was able to pick up what was being put down. I thought the acting was very, very well. Carmine Falcone always acts well. In every movie I've seen him in, he acts very, very well. But what bothered me is, you could take it from a personal aspect, is there hasn't been anybody who hasn't had that bad relationship that they broke up and they just wish that person never existed in their mind. And we can't go to somebody and erase that memory. And then you see the negative effects when you do try to possibly, especially if you felt really deeply about that person. Do you want to erase that person out your memory for the entire time? I don't know. Is that the smartest thing? I don't know. There is somebody in my life I wish I could forget, but I don't know. Those are still memories that you have. And memories is what makes us to be the person that we are, the man that we are, the woman that we are, because it's those life lessons that we learn. I can't tell you if the ending was sad or not, because there are certain parts about it that I agree with E Boogie on. There are certain parts about it I agree with the next doctor on. I do believe that it was more of, are we sure this is the road we want to take? Because it seems like everything that the reason we broke up for the first time might necessarily happen again. But then there's always that hope. I hope that E Boogie will find the sequence she wants us to be on, because he's moving these windows. But I thought it was a fantastic movie. I am glad that E Boogie actually picked it, because she picked the horrible movies. But I'm glad that she actually picked this movie, or did not pick this movie. I forgot. Because I would have never watched this movie before, and I never did take the chance to watch this movie. Okay? I suggest next time you take a course of how to properly move windows. E Boogie, if you could take us home, I would appreciate it.
You know what? I will do that, because otherwise, then I will air out the backstage things, and I'm just not going to do that tonight. I'll save that for when I'm really feeling petty. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you haven't watched it already, definitely check out Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It will blow your mind, and it has just enough little sci-fi for the nerds and all the people that are like emo and like that sort of whole thing, like to cry at movies. You will love it. Join us again next Tuesday, and then Thursday again. Tuesday, I guess we're watching, what is it? Saw 5?
Jigsaw.
That's 6, right?
Well, the 8th one.
That's 8?
It's the 8th one. We have 2 more.
Did y'all watch Spiral already?
Spiral's after Jigsaw.
I I thought Spiral was 6. So you're saying that my mental capacity erased the existence of 2 Saw movies? That's how
saying
irrelevant.
you went to a guy who decided.
That's
to
how
erase your
irrelevant
memory.
that series has become. Join us Tuesday for Jigsaw, the apparently 8th film in the franchise, and then Thursday for God knows what, if I'm being honest.
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser.
One of my
Pinhead.
favorite horror movies.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I'm surprised by the person who picked it.
Anyway, thanks so much for watching us. We're going to see you next time here at Unpopular Review. Good night, everybody.